Go. Hey, g'day, Josh here from Physique Essentials and the Elite Physique Project. I am sitting back here with Bill. How are you, sir?
I'm very well.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So, just wanted to be able to catch up and talk about your experiences and stuff like that. So, I'll pass the mic over if you just want to give yourself a little brief introduction, and we'll go from there.
I'm Bill Bird. I'm 52 years old. I live and work in Canberra. I have a wife. I have 5 kids. One child. 4 adult children. 2 still live with us. I work as a contractor to Department of Defence. So how's that for an intro?
Cool. Now we can continue on that intro, because again, when it comes to the health and fitness sort of stuff, like, you're no stranger to that, and we have known each other for a while. We kind of go back in some of the different things that we've done, but still, why is it that you reached out? Like, what was going on in your world that you felt, Josh, look, we need to chat and see if we can do some stuff?
I'd really like. I've owned and operated a gym myself, and I know what's involved in that. But essentially, I hadn't been putting myself first, and the challenge of actually doing what I knew I had to do was something that I needed to reach out and get a bit of help, assistance with. I had done, you start training, or I had started training in the last 12 months. Probably about 6 times, and lasted 2 weeks. I know when I start training, I eat a lot better and consistent with that. But for whatever reason, something sort of seemed to get in the way when I got to that two-week mark.
Yep.
And then I sort of find myself looking to start again. A month or 2 later on down the track, and I guess each time it just got harder and harder, because I sort of let myself go further and further. So,
and again, it's one of those things, like, for most guys, if we really sit back and think about it, we understand, the principles of getting back into shape and losing body fat. So eat better, move more. So we know how to, if we want to utilize the word diet and all that sort of stuff. But I think you really, press upon an important point, that even when, you do have that knowledge, there was still something that was missing. So, by the second week already, the wheels were starting to fall off. It's like, what the heck's going on? How do I break through?
Correct. Cool. Yeah, we did a lot of soul searching, and worked out why and what's going on in my life that sort of made me want to go and do that. And it was really I didn't have that commitment to myself to drive forward and make this part of who I am, because for a long time in my life I have been this fit, strong guy that's done lots of running and done triathlons and played footy, and enjoyed all that part of me and my life. But I'd let other things become a priority in my life, and now I want that back. Yeah,
cool. And again, like, that's something that we could really touch on as well, because a lot of guys are very similar. We're very quick to throw ourselves on the sword, so to speak, because we're busy. We're doing everything else for everyone else first. So we're looking after the family, looking after work, career, different obligations. If something needs doing, we instantly put our hands up, not realizing that we ourselves, we're kind of the centerpiece to all of that. So unless we're fitter and stronger and operating the best that we can be, we're kind of falling short. Yet at the same time, somewhat finding it hard to then being able to reprioritize to allow yourself to get back into the game so you can improve. So it's kind of like and as you said, it's a start, stop. Like, you start one week, and then the following week you pull back, and then continuing on that cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what was it like? Do you think that you just got up one day and just said enough's enough, or you needed to flip things around?
It's a matter of just saying, well, hang on, life is about eating properly all the time. right?
Mm.
And you know, there's sometimes foods, and those sometimes foods are for sometimes, right?
Yep.
And training is something that needs to be part of our life. You know,
Mhm.
you know, I work in an office. Clearly, you know, you can see today. I work in an office, and I'm sitting on my ass for 8 hours a day. I need to actually, you know, make a determined effort to train
Mm.
on a regular basis to
Yep.
stimulate my body to move, you know. And if
Mhm.
I'm not doing that, then I have to live with the consequences.
100%.
And yeah, yeah.
And the consequences that we experience are very, they're very abrupt. You'll feel them very, very quickly. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff I will talk about is like we as a people, as society, we somewhat live in an alien environment, so to speak. And if you think about it like this, you just rewind back a couple of 100 years ago, our grandparents and those before them, they had to work harder because, more physical work, because that's what was to be done. You know what I mean? Like cliche things. They were working the land and digging stuff and doing all that sort of stuff. Or when it came to food sources, they didn't have the convenience of takeaway or Uber Eats or anything like that. Everything was, home cooked meals and all that sort of thing. But these days, we've got convenience at the touch of a button. We've got, the ability to blow off any form of constructive and consistent exercise, to sit on our butts and then tell ourselves that we're working hard because we're sitting down for 9 or 10 hours a day doing nothing. And we very quickly experience the repercussions of it.
Yeah, I don't do nothing when I'm sitting on my ass for eight
Yeah,
or 9 hours.
but what I'm
I'm not moving. I'm not moving, and I get your
that's
point.
what I'm
Uh,
talking. I'm talking
yeah,
solely in terms of a physical output. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like as we're sitting at a computer for 8 hours and we're typing away, so the fingers are getting a great workout and our mental capacity, and we're thinking and doing all that sort of stuff. But just simply compared to load on a body, you know what I mean? And what is
yeah.
it? Society itself is changing. I remember when I was a kid, if I wanted to turn the TV station, I used to have to get up and walk over and turn the station. And the last night I'm sitting there on the couch, trying to cheese my kids off, making them watch bike videos on YouTube. So my oldest is there on her phone and taps the phone into YouTube on the TV to change the station. And then my youngest starts doing it. That's what I mean. It's just a difference in society
Yeah.
until we get to that point where, we need to take ownership of ourselves and kind of draw the line in the sand. And I need to move a little bit better. I need to eat a little bit better, and I need to be a bit more accountable.
So the result of training means that when I get home after spending 8 or 9 hours in the office of the day, I'm not dog tired, and I've actually got some energy. And so then this, well, I'm going to call it an upward spiral happens. So then I have energy to go and do train. If I haven't done that in the morning, I can
Mm-hmm.
train, or I can do something productive in the evening rather than flop on the sofa and watch whatever and do nothing because I'm tired and exhausted. And yeah, that was just a couple of months ago, and that
A
was me.
100%. Like you get lazy being lazy. And it's like I couldn't be bothered doing anything. I don't have no energy, so I might as well not do anything. Yet on the flip side, as you start to move more and the body becomes a little bit more efficient, and you start to get a little bit fitter and you start to lose a little bit more weight. Physically, you want to keep going. Mentally, you want to do more because now I'm starting to see the results. So we become motivated, and it just continues that compounding cycle. So it's really good. So I know part of us and our initial plan was to just continue building consistency and momentum to get through those first 2 weeks. That was a big one. Just to be able to hit week number 3 and go, I'm still here, I'm still engaged, I'm still enjoying the process. And to continue on from that is like during our whole period, like you never missed a workout. You everything. It was like a complete 180. Like you had this big, massive mental shift. And as you just said, then you're getting home from a day of work, feeling good, you've got the energy. I want to keep doing more. So never missed a session. Every session you sent it through to me to review was brilliant.
Yep.
And did you find that process itself then created the consistency that you needed in other areas of life?
Yes, I just wanted to touch on. So I trained, I videoed because Josh and I don't live in the same town. I videoed all my workouts and I sent them to Josh. And the reason I continue to do that right through his program is because his feedback on that training was so good, and I learned something from that all the time. So each time I could then apply what I'd learned from the last set of feedback to the next one. So I knew that I was getting better and stronger. My technique was being developed over that time, and it really, once you start to get it, I guess you start to enjoy it more rather than when I started off, it was a real struggle. And most of that struggle was because I didn't know what I was doing. So
Well, it's like anything. It's hard if you don't understand the process or whatever it is. It's like me sitting down doing my taxes. It's hard and it's not enjoyable. But once you start to see a positive return, and all of a sudden it's like I want to keep rocking up. But let's not also then take away the fact that I can only assess on what data is captured. So if data isn't captured in this regard, I can offer no feedback. So if we look at the actual process of you being able to film your workouts and sending them through, that's another level of accountability. Coming from someone who was unable to successfully move through week 2 for 6 failed attempts in the prior 12 months, which is a lot of efforts, and a lot of guys don't realize how much this compounds. Let's just say that you stayed on that same cycle for 5 years. That would have been 30 attempts to get going and failing. So having that level of accountability and again, that accountability gets broken down to every set. It's like, all right, I'm about to do it, but I've got to stop, got to set the camera up, got to hit record so he can see that I'm doing this. And more so I'm actually capturing it for myself. And then to apply the feedback to the next level, that's why it just continues to compound, hence why your strength went absolutely through the roof, which in turn is infectious as itself, because when you're getting that result, if you've been struggling for so long, just to even have the consistency of showing up, now not only am I showing up, but I'm getting stronger every session. That's how you hack motivation, because it's like, I know I'm going to be improved from the week before. I don't want to see how much I'm improved now. Let's do it. Yeah, would you agree? And then how it carries over into the photos, and then the visual transformation is nuts, because that's something that we've chatted on about a lot in terms of like work shirts that were unable to fit, they were fitting again, and all that sort of stuff. So that's where the real success is.
Yeah, it's going to get expensive. I've got to go and buy a new suit, Josh. I pulled out my old suit that I'd grown out of a little while ago, and I had high hopes of being able to wear that one, but the silverfish got to that and eaten that one. So yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
Damn,
you could always adopt my idea of corporate wear, which is bare feet and boardies. But I don't know how it's going to go down too well in defense. I know when I used to work in defense, I used to wear cargo shorts and bare feet. So a long time ago. No, it's cool. And I know other things too. Like, one of the things that people follow me and whoever's watching this is we've got to think bigger picture. Like a lot of the times when you see stuff and you see different things out there, and it'll be a weight loss plan or a weight loss program, and it's very one-dimensional. It's very focused on losing weight. You know what I mean? So it's just, do you no carbs? Do you this? Do you that? You'll lose the weight. But the problem with that is there's no real education apart from just simply following a weight loss plan. What happens next? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, I either keep doing this for the rest of my life or I go back into my previous habits. So I'm very big on being able to progress something, which is where the transformation formula comes into it. Because what we know is once you achieve one level of success, the door will open for something else and something else. So I know now, chatting, so you've got a triathlon coming up this weekend.
Correct.
Which is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no way I was going to do that, beginning of the year, the state I was, but this is a stepping stone to something bigger. So this is a super short one.
Yep.
I've done them before in the past when I've been fitter, and I've certainly done them at a longer, more challenging sort of level. And my eyes on the ball for something bigger, more challenging in 12 months' time. But right now, it's just about just getting out there and getting the water and getting on the bike and going for a run and having a bit of fun.
It's just a matter then of getting back into the game, finding out where you're at, and then progressing to the next goal. But the beautiful part about this, and again, where goals themselves can be multifaceted, i.e., it's always better to focus on one goal. So if the goal is primarily weight loss, let's focus on the weight loss. And we know that if you get 10, 15 kilos down lighter, because I know like just from our first round here, I think it was 9.1, that alone will translate into an increase in fitness and performance simply because you're not carrying an extra 9 kilos that you had a few months ago. But then you continue to progress that forward, and you fast forward at the 12 months time when you're 30 kilos lighter, and everything will just be better and better and better. And this is where, achieving those levels of success and understanding the principles, i.e., I'm not successful because I went on some crazy restrictive diet. I simply ate because it was appropriate to my goals and suited my family and suited my work, and everything was great. The training I've been doing has been appropriate for both my goal and for my lifestyle. So as you continue to tick off those successes, we start to think in terms of new goals. It's like, what else can I achieve? What else can I do? What's been that goal that I've just buried deep down, never ready to admit to someone because it was so out of scope and so far from what I can achieve? And all of a sudden now it's like, maybe I can do this. So the benefits that we can have and experience in regards to like confidence and self-esteem is amazing. And then that alone then becomes infectious to the people around us, because all of a sudden they're like, man, that Bill's a go-getter. He's just doing one thing after another. He can't be stopped. He's doing this and bang, bang, bang. And everyone, that's when they sit back and it's like, what are you doing? I'm just living life. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the tone at home has changed a bit around that. So, when I said a month and a half ago that I was doing a triathlon, they were, signing up for this triathlon, it was like, are you really, like, are you sure? Whereas the talk this week's been, well, I hope you go good, like that sort of change in, what's possible, or that they've noticed that, yes, you've changed, you've stayed committed to, eating, and you've continued to train, and it's, everyone around you or everyone around me at home is seeing that and noticing that, and that's one of the facets of what I wanted to achieve, was to be that role model at home. That we want to be showing to our kids, to our family, that it can be done. You can eat healthy, you can exercise on a regular basis, and it can be something you fit into your lifestyle, rather than it being a all or nothing effort that you do once or for a couple of weeks and then it ends. So for me,
and it's really cool that you also bring up the family element as well. Like a lot of the times I'll talk to guys, and if they're unwilling or they're not in a position to really be able to acknowledge the truth, and the truth is they're not taking ownership, they're not fixing their own shit, they're going to stay stuck. And they'll say sometimes things like, oh, the wife won't let me do it, or the wife said it's not the right time. And I'll kind of throw their partners and throw their families under the bus. And it's like, I really want to do it, but it's like, they're not going to let me, which is complete and utter horseshit. But sometimes we may feel that we get some little bit of resistance from home, from partners and kids and so forth. And it really just comes down because they don't want to see us fail. They don't want to see us in pain. They don't want to see us upset. They're really our greatest supporters. They only want to see us win and succeed and be awesome. But sometimes we've made that declaration, I'm going to do it, we've fell short and all this sort of stuff. And then sometimes they have to pick up the pieces. You know what I mean? So sometimes they had that little bit of resistance, but the fact that you've also been able to see the changes, because this is the perfect example, because they're the ones who went through those previous 6 attempts with you. Where you get really excited, going to get the mojo back, happy, bang, 2 weeks in, shit. And they kind of go through that as well. But to see them change so fast now, and it's like, yeah, like we're supportive, we're behind you on this, because they can see what you're doing. And that's another thing too, which is really important. Like the only way that we can really influence the people at home to get on the bandwagon, so to speak, is you can't force them. You can't go home and say, listen, family, we're now eating like this and we're throwing all the yummy treats in the bin, blah, blah, blah. This is why diets don't work. We can only lead from a position of leadership. And it's like, this is what I'm doing for me. You lot do what you want to do, but this is what I'm doing for me. And then they sit back and they watch you improve and they watch you be happy and they watch you fit and active and getting out there and doing it. And all of a sudden, it's like that Harry Met Sally where she sits back and goes, I want what she's having. They want a little bit of that as well. So that's how you get them on side.
Damn straight. Yeah. They're starting to eat my food.
Hey?
Starting to eat my food, you know.
My youngest used to do that. I do a lot of prep meals and she'd get home from school and want to eat a meal. I'm like, are you for real? And it's kind of like, this is the beast I created. So, but yeah, that's very common because again, in saying that, we're their role models. And so many times, like I've had guys reach out and they go, they're struggling nutritionally and I'm eating this or I'm doing carnivore diets or I'm doing carb cycling and all this sort of stuff. My kids won't eat veggies. And it's like, well, you're not eating veggies. Why won't you? That's why your 4-year-old's not eating veggies, because you're just sitting there eating steak and eggs. They want to copy what you're doing. So it makes no sense. Like you can't ask a child to eat their vegetables if you're not doing it yourself. So no, that's really cool. That's really cool. And what's next? So this first triathlon, what's next? What's the big goals?
In 12 months' time, I want to be doing Olympic distance triathlon.
And how far is that?
That's a 1.5 kilometer swim, 40K on the bike, and 10K run.
How cool is that?
I want to do that in under 3 hours.
How cool is that? Yeah. You reckon you'll do it? I reckon you'll do it.
Oh, I'll do it whether I get whether my time's under 3 hours. That's
well again, like look,
so basically, I'm setting the baseline this weekend as to my triathlon experience and where I'm at, and it's just a matter of going, well, my swim was a bit weak, or my ride was, or my run was, or what do I need to work on, and doing that and just fitting that in around into my lifestyle.
That's it.
Cycling to work is something I've done for a long time. That's if I do that on a regular basis, there's 30 odd K a day that I can train. That's 30K a day. That's 150K a week. Just in the commute. So it's all about just getting kilometers.
Like in the reality, to touch on that is the simplicity of it. That is the simplicity. It's like, this is a goal. This is what I want to achieve. And part of those goals is utilizing the SMART goal strategy. You know what I mean? So it's got to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And then the frameworks have to be sustainable. There's no point driving yourself into the ground and never to recover. So you've got to, have a specific goal. It's got to be achievable. So if you turn around and said, I want to be at Olympic standard in 12 months, I don't know what Olympic standard is, maybe a little bit out of reach, you know what I mean? But again, like if you set yourself a goal, it's like, this is where I want to get to. And then it's a matter of assessing where you are today. Where am I today? What is my speed? What is my abilities and all this sort of stuff? What is the set length of time that I've got between now versus when I want to achieve this goal? And what are the measurable yardsticks? And then on the flip side of that, if I happen to drop, 20 kilos of body fat in the process, is that going to help me? Is that going to make me more efficient on the bike? Is it going to make me more efficient running? 100%. So you just keep ticking it off and ticking it off. But something that you just said, Dan, and it's probably the most important part, it's making it work with your lifestyle. And that's what we're all about. That's what we have to be. Anyone can sit back and just follow, a 1,200 calorie diet or do carb cycling or low carb or keto or whatever. And they can do that for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And you can do something which is so opposite spectrum of your lifestyle, and it's hard on the family and hard on you. And you might be able to achieve an initial result up front. You lose the weight and all this sort of stuff. But the one thing that we are absolutely guaranteed is there'll come a time when you sit back and go, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do it. And then you stop and the weight comes back on. And again, that's not to say that, you fast forward 12 months down the track and something new, something exciting comes out, something catches your interest, and you might go, I might look into that. It looks a little bit, it's kind of caught my eye. But by giving you the skills and the tools, you can now sit back and analyze. You can sit and look at it and go, well, how's this diet, but if we use that as an example, how's this going to benefit me, not only in terms of the way I want to look and feel, but then also to my ability to be able to perform at a higher level. So if we use the triathlon example as a really good, take home from this, triathletes eat lots of carbs. Carbs are good because they give you lots of energy. If you tried to go into this doing a ketogenic diet, probably not the best. You know what I mean? So being able to match it with lifestyle, then also to what kids want to eat, what the wife wants to eat, and going out for dinner and all that sort of stuff. It really makes it a lot simpler and a lot easier. And that's the simpler and easier things can be, the better. That's what I reckon.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff you do, like, you get home yesterday and I trained during the day, and meatballs and spaghetti, right? Who has meatballs and spaghetti while they're trying to lose weight? Well, I am. Because my coach, thanks Josh, said I needed to increase my calorie intake per day and go for high energy carbs. So that's where I went. But then there's the dumb stuff, right? So colleagues at work go down the cafe and they bring back 6 donuts and they're like, here you go, they were half price, so I've got 6. And you go, well, I'm not eating those things. So then one of them eats 3 donuts.
Isn't our perception of normality so weird and so skewed? You know what I mean? Like, where we can get caught up on the labeling of food. So, i.e., you're trying to get lean, or you better not eat pasta, better not eat a meatball, they're bad for you, but it's acceptable and justified because the donuts are on sale. Like, and again, a lot of this is about being able to challenge your existing beliefs. What's really going on? What do I believe? What is the reason why I believe this? And then being able to again come up with new beliefs and new languages and all that sort of thing. Because that's the thing. It's not
just that though. It's not just that though, Josh. It's about, we talk about proximity of food. If there's something, so I just went off in here. Just turn them on a minute. Hang on. Okay. Sorry about that. I was sitting too still for too long. The proximity to food, right? So, been someone we both know talked about that the proximity to food. If it's there, then we're more likely to eat it. But I think for me, what I've learned is that, and other coaches will tell you, you need to get rid of all that high energy, sugary, fatty stuff out of your house and remove that full temptation. But for me, the reality is I have 2 adult sons living at home, and they go down the supermarket and they fill half the cupboards up with all sorts of stuff. And, if I see it, out there in the kitchen, I'll normally just put it away in the cupboard because I don't really want to see it. But my goal is stronger, I guess, than my desire or motivation to have that food. So
but you know what, like touching on that real quick, the proximity is 100% true, but we don't always have to surround ourselves with what we would perceive to be not compliant choices to hit the goal. We can always surround ourselves with better choices, fruits and all that sort of stuff. But I think, look, real world scenario is that there's always temptations. There's always shit around us. You jump in the car, you go to the servo, you go to the shop, there's always something there, and if we are able to abstain, is sometimes is better than moderation. Cool. If we're able to control our environment perfectly, so i.e. where you work, you control your desk. That's what you can control. If there's chocky bars in the top drawer, then you're the one who put them there. You know what I mean? So you can control your environment. But that environment is usually also part of other people's environments in shared spaces and stuff like that. And so, sometimes people, when they go, oh, I rely on willpower, and you've got so much willpower. I think willpower is one of these things is once you make a decision and it's like, you know what, there's no good food or bad food or anything like that. It's just energy. But I understand that if I have that one little thing, if I have those 2 donuts, I might have to make choices elsewhere, and I might have to go out of the things or go without, sorry, the things that I actually want and may be of more benefit, because I know that little donut there is not really going to give me much pleasure if that's where your mindset's at. You know what I mean? So I think, a big part of the success is also about breaking the stigma of bad foods and things like that when you understand labeling. Because on the flip side, you might go, man, I love donuts. Donuts are the greatest food in the world. Like, I literally just love donuts. Well, cool. I'm going to teach you how to eat them in moderation so you're not feeling guilty. You're still able to hit your goal. You're still able to perform at a high level, and everything comes up Millhouse. It's just not something that you might be eating 5 times a day. So, donuts, they're a great food. I don't know why. They're not. That's cool. Oh, no, let's wrap this up.
You were talking about that race coming up on Saturday, and knowing I've got a race coming up on Saturday is a big motivator for
What do you want more? Yeah, it all comes down to prioritization. And again, this is weird when it comes to food. Like, there's so many hangouts people have on food. Like, let's just say that say you've got an overseas holiday coming up and you have to do overtime, but you don't want to do overtime, but you want to go on the holiday. Which is more? I'm just going to suck it up and do the overtime so I can go on a holiday. But when it comes to food, we all kind of get wound up, and it's like, but I want to have that too. Well, again, like, do what you want. There happens to just be pros and cons, benefits and consequences in every decisions that we make. And once you can start to make them out of positions of empowerment, and it's a controlled decision rather than out of fear and, oh my God, that's when you'll win. Because I guarantee there's always going to be stuff lying around. You might have the best intentions, and you come home one afternoon and the whole kitchen is just full of chocolate and sugar, and you're like, what the hell? I'm racing tomorrow. What the hell? We have to kind of bounce with it. So, but yeah, we don't want this to go too long. So, do you have any final thoughts for anyone who happens to be watching this?
Look, if you're sitting on the sideline and you're not sure about whether you want to go with Josh or not, the first thing I'll say about Josh is that he has more integrity than anyone else I've seen in the fitness industry, and I've seen quite a few characters here and there, and that Josh has your best interests at heart, and that's the way I've felt, and that's what I've experienced. So,
cool, thanks, man. Josh. Thank you. That's it. Like, I can only call a spade, and I suppose because I'm so, personally passionate about this, but then also too, what it's all about, you know what I mean? And we can brush it off and have a bit of a laugh and all this sort of stuff, but it really just comes down to, you being able to live your best life. A lot of the times we won't acknowledge how much pain and shit that we can actually be in continually, morning, noon, and night. And it's not just for a couple of days. It can possibly be months and years, decades. It just compounds. It's like when you free yourself from that, and then the benefits you're able to achieve. And again, they're not just benefits that you wear solely, but again, it's your productivity at work, it's your relationships at home, it's your overall performance and the things that you want to do. It really is turning around your life. And it's so much more than what the rest of the fitness industry wants you to believe. They want you to believe that all you need is a diet and a training program. But the fact is, if all it took was a diet and a training program, then everyone would be fit and healthy and living their best life and have no dramas. But it only continues to get more challenging. So thank you, sir. We got more work to do. But again, if you're watching this, thank you for watching this. If you want to chat to me, I'm really, really easy to find. Just scroll down, you'll find one of the links or something. Click on that. Reach out. We'll have a chat, and hopefully you'll be a good fit like Bill here, and we can get to work. So, all right, man, I'll let you get back to work.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. Ciao. Thanks, dude. Bye.